Good morning. It is Saturday morning, and it is colder than a well digger's fill in the blank. We're gonna, I need to run some errands this morning. We're gonna get old Blue fired up here. I've had a little bit of trouble keeping the battery up with this cold weather. So let's see if we can do a cold start here. Okay, you can see I still got to work on the interior in this, but let's see how we do here. Come on, girl. Oh, I got a battery maintainer on it, but it is a cold-hearted. Don't think we're gonna get it. This is just a little maintainer I got on it. It's probably not enough to do the job, but oh, we'll let it sit there. Maybe that thing will pick it up a little bit. You know, I have an engine heater for that. I gotta get the dogs. Come on. Maverick, come on. Atta boy. Such good dogs. We'll hang out in here for a minute. It is cold out. Holy cow. But yeah, so that I don't know if I have a parasitic draw on that battery that I haven't been able to find. I had one on there early on when I put that together. It turned out to be the voltage regulator in the alternator. And I changed that, but I don't know. We'll have to dig into that a little bit more. But it is that 460 in that truck is a cold-blooded old man, I tell you what. But we'll get it up and running, and that's the problem with, you know, being in this kind of climate and, you know, having a vehicle that you don't run daily is, well, it wears on the battery. And I know battery technology isn't car batteries that you buy from the parts stores and stuff like that. They're not. I don't care what you say. They're not as good as they used to be. I don't know why, but they're just not as good. So, but anyways, we're going to get into today here, and I'll give you a little review of what we're going to be doing. So, I'll get my microphone hooked up here so you can hear me better. One of these days, when I make it to be a big YouTube guy, I'm going to get an actual good camera instead of just using my phone. But until then, this is what we got. But anyways, when we left the Bronco here in the last video, I was getting this front end put back together. And naturally, I've run into issues with now the sway bar. Trying to install the sway bar, and because of the lift kit, the sway bar isn't lining up right, and I'm getting interference between the sway bar links and the springs because, you know, being as I've lowered the suspension in raising the frame, there's interference. I've changed that geometry, so now there's interference. So now I either need to purchase or I need to build some relocation brackets for the front sway bar mounting bracket. I have elected to build my own relocation brackets as after the experience I've had so far with this rough country stuff, I absolutely refuse to give them any more money. So that's what we're going to do. Now, another issue I'm kind of having with this kit is I don't know if you can see here, and I'll show you in more detail here in a little bit, but I have ratchet straps on both sides because due to the lift, the shocks that were provided with the lift kit, mind you, are not long enough to allow for full suspension travel. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's super, super irritating. Again, like I've been complaining since I tried to put on the very first component with this lift kit, the refinement in it is crap. So, because I don't feel as though those springs should be pulling down against a fully extended shock. Because there's a lot of tension there. I mean, on these straps, and like I said, I'll bring you in here to show you more later, but there is tension on those straps. So I don't know if I'm going to have to get some, they make those, it's basically a strap just like that that's designed to go on the shock to allow for travel, but then again, it won't allow it to go to maximum travel, because otherwise, all that spring tension pushing down is pushing on the maximum travel or the stop within that the top of that shock, the piston within the cylinder of that shock. And I don't like that. I don't think that. Now, it might not be an issue once we get, a heavy engine and transmission in here. There might be enough compression down on that suspension that it won't be an issue. But you're still, if you lift this up by the frame, if you were to put this on a lift and lift it by the frame, you're still going to have that same issue. And I don't care for that at all. Another thing is that we've got a pretty good pile of parts coming in. So we've got plenty to do. So a lot of it's just bolt-on stuff. And once I get past this stupid lift kit, I think we're going to be able to start making some hay on this thing. One thing we do have to do is enjoy a nice sip of hot coffee. So basically what I'm going to do is that this is just the cold intro, literally, because it's cold outside. And I'm going to clean up the shop a little bit, try to get Big Blue running, and I'll run my errands, and then we'll get into today. Well, let's try this one more time, and if it doesn't want to go, we'll put the jump pack on it and see if that helps. No! Okay. Well, she livened up there for a second, but just didn't want to stay with it. Well, it says it's got 12.2 volts, which is low, I realize. Just not enough of the cold cranking amps. I mean, it's got enough cold cranking amps. It's just, I don't know. Oh, come on. Why doesn't that, wait, is that jump pack froze up too? For crying in the mud. Why can't I get anything to just go? You got 67% for crying out loud. This is the second time I've tried to use that jump pack, and it's been pretty good to me over the years, but I don't know if it's getting tired or what. Or it could just be that battery's froze up. Ah, frick. Okay, I'll go get the big battery charger. All right, well, I got old reliable on there. That battery charger is probably from the 70s, and it's never let me down. So we'll give her a few minutes, and hopefully it'll be just enough voltages to get that thing spun over. So while that's kind of charging up, oh dog, while that's charging up, the dogs, when I bring them into the garage, they don't even know what to do. They're just like, are we supposed to be in here? They'd rather be outside, but I'm not gonna. It's way too cold even for them. Straightening out here. So one of the things. So I know this looks like a gigantic mess right here. Well, and it is, but one of the things I want to get done is I want to get this all cleared off again. I literally just had this all cleared off. And we kind of reorganized the shop here a little bit. I've moved the sandblaster to the dust collector because I was tired of using the vacuum and constantly cleaning the vacuum filter out. So now I've got it hooked into my dust collector system for back when I used to do a lot of woodworking. I haven't done woodworking in years. But yeah, so I've kind of moved all my, these were portable benches. They got wheels on them, but I've moved them over to a semi-permanent position on the sidewall here. And I want to put new tops on them because the tops are completely trashed. So that's another project I have for today. And hopefully we can get that we can get that done. So we got nice surfaces. We can get a little bit more organization. And I know the shop is a complete and total mess, but I mean I'm in it. I've got an entire vehicle torn apart in here, and there's just stuff everywhere. I mean tools, you name it. Okay, well it's been a few more minutes. The gauge on that thing doesn't. Battery charger doesn't work. It always says it's drawing 5 amps, so, but it's been dropped approximately 1,500 times. So as long as the transformer in it works, that's all I care about. Well, let's see if we can get her fired up. I tell you what, this is getting annoying. All right, let's try this darn thing again. All right, well, it's way late in the afternoon. A little bit of a situation with my daughter and a braces incident we had to remedy. Yeah, so back to the Bronco here. We have an issue, if you can imagine, with the lift kit. So the issue is that as much as I enjoy this Rough Country 2.5-inch lift kit on here, and I'll be giving a review on that in an upcoming video, we have an issue with the sway bar. Now, according to the instructions, which are crap, you are able to use the factory mounting points for the sway bar. That's not true, at least not in my application. There's no way. I have messed with this and reconfigured it and turned things around, in case maybe I had something wrong. But there is no way that you can use this factory sway bar mounting points and not have it interfere with the suspension. Being as we've lowered the suspension, in turn raising the body, we have changed the geometry of the front suspension, and part of that is the front sway bar. And I can, like I said, there's no way I've been able to make this work. So specifically, here's what I'm talking about. If I were to mount this sway bar bracket in its factory location, it's not only going to bring this side of the sway bar up, but it also pushes this back. Now there's a couple issues we have with that. One, the aftermarket springs we have on here are just a little bit bigger in diameter by 1/4 of an inch. And then because we've lowered it, it's also forcing the link here back into it. Because again, we've changed the geometry on this and it's pushing it back into the spring. So what I need to do is not only lower this, but bring it forward in order to make that clearance. So I'm going to make a bracket. So I've gone ahead and come over to the fab shop. It's just across the compound. And we're going to make a bracket because Rough Country sells a relocation kit for that sway bar. But like I said, they're very adamant in saying that you don't need to relocate that sway bar. How? I don't know. I don't know how you're supposed to do that. I've looked at a lot of things online. And pretty much everybody says, nope, you got to buy the brackets, drop that sway bar mounting bracket, and everything will be just hunky-dory. So, being as I'm absolutely thrilled with the way the rest of that Rough Country lift kit went together, I'm not going to spend any more money on their, quite frankly, mediocre parts. Because there, and again, in doing research, I found that a lot of them broke or bent or, cracked, whatever. So I'm going to build a beefy one. So I dug around and I found this guy. This is a piece of 2x2 by 1/4 inch thick steel. And we're going to build our spacer / adapter mover bracket out of this. And I'll bring you along while I do it. So I brought you in nice and close here. So basically what needs to take place is this is our mounting bracket that used to go right here. What I need to do is not only lower it down to this height, but I also need to move it forward. So I'm going to take that 2" by 2" tube steel, and I'm just going to bring a bracket out here. So basically what I've done is I've measured it up, and I need to cut this off at 6 3/4 inches. Well, I got the brackets made and painted, and everything should be pretty hunky-dory here and ready to go. On this other frame rail that you can't see, I already have that bracket in. And so now we're going to put this one in. And hopefully everything lines up just perfect. So now we should be able to swing our sway bar up into place. And bolt that bracket in. And bolt that bracket in. And bolt it in. Just bolt it in. Okay, we got that one in. Now, I should add, it looks to me like over on this side, this sway bar has been bent. I'm guessing somebody tried to use it as a jacking point at some point in time in its past life. It is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get this side bolted in, and then I'll show you the finished product. Then basically all I got left is to tighten up the bolts on the sway bar links, and that'll be installed. Except it's a different size, I guess. I don't just... Here's kind of a little tour of what I had to build for these brackets. So this is stock, but this is me. And then the bracket here is stock. These are fine thread 9/16 inch bolts. I'm sorry, these are 7/16, my bad. 7/16 inch fine thread that are tapped into this 1/4 inch 2x2 square. Now, to understand why we had to do what we did was in the factory position, which this sway bar bushing was not only up an additional 2 inches, but it was back another inch. And what that did was that shoved this top part of the link here into the coil spring, because the coil spring itself is physically bigger. So diameter wise, this coil spring is actually a full 1/4 of an inch wider in diameter than the stock one. So that caused us a problem. Plus, by having it up and in the stock position, with this going down, pushed this back even more to where it hit. It was right on this one. It wasn't so bad on this one, but on the other side, this spring is turned 180. So this is basically here. And I can show you on the other side. So you can see this rung of the spring on the driver's side is just about parallel with the link itself. So like I said, that being up and back pushed this whole assembly back. And so we had to move it forward. Now, like I said before, putting the lift kit on changes all the geometry of the suspension in the front, and not so much in the rear. We'll see how the rear sway bar reacts to having that 2 inch or 2.5-inch lifting block put on it. According to what I read on the Rough Country website, you didn't need to relocate your front or rear sway bar. But I'm telling you right now, there is no way that I was able to get this to go and not hit right here without moving it. And you got to keep in mind too that as that suspension is traveling up and down with the sway bar, that sway bar is in an arc. So it's going to, as it moves, it's going to get even closer because this is the flex point, if you can imagine that. And so as that suspension is going down, this isn't going to move, but this is going to move, travel in that arc. So we had no option. I didn't see any option but to move this. Again, maybe I'm looking at something wrong, but like I said, I fiddled around with this for quite a while, and I could not get it to work without it hitting on there. I'm going to do a full review on the kit in a future video, but nothing's adding up real great right now. I can tell you that much. Well, I think once I get past all this drama with this lift kit, I think this is going to start going together a little bit better. There's way more customizing than I thought was going to take place in putting this relatively small lift kit. In fact, on the website, it's not even called a lift kit. It's called a leveling kit. So, that gives the impression that this isn't like a real major install. I'm not putting like a 6-inch lift on this. This is 2.5 inches. It really shouldn't be that big a deal in my mind's eye. Now, complete transparency, I have never put a lift on a vehicle before in my life. I mean, I never have. But you can see by the stuff that I do here, I'm more than capable of doing it, and I'm a little disappointed in it. Again, my review is coming in an upcoming video. Coming up, I don't know when. I haven't actually made the video, but it is coming. And, we'll see what happens. For now, though, I appreciate you watching the video. We got those adapters in for the sway bar, and they turned out pretty good. Go ahead and clean up all the tools here. So anyways, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.